The phantom time hypothesis. What if 297 years of history were fabricated? In 1991, German historian Heribert Illig published a paper proposing that approximately 297 years of human history had been fabricated. Specifically, he argued that the years 614 to 911 AD, a period including the reign of Charlemagne, the Carolingian Empire, and most of what historians call the early Middle Ages, never actually happened. The calendar was adjusted, he claimed, to place the Holy Roman Emperor Otto Roman III, Pope Sylvester Roman II, and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine Roman VII at the symbolically significant year 1000 AD. Everything before the adjustment, Illig said, was invented. The hypothesis is built on several observations. First, the historical record from the early Middle Ages is significantly thinner than records from periods immediately before and after. Very few documents, structures, or artifacts can be confidently dated to the 614 to 911 period. Second, the development of culture, technology, and science in Western Europe appears unusually stagnant during this period compared to preceding and following centuries, as though progress stopped for 3 centuries and then resumed. Third, Illig pointed to astronomical evidence. The Julian calendar, in use from 46 BCE, accumulated errors at a known rate, roughly 1 day every 128 years. When Pope Gregory Roman XIII reformed the calendar in 1582, he removed 10 days to account for the accumulated drift since the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. But if 297 years had been added to the calendar, the correction should have been 13 days, not 10. The discrepancy of 3 days, Illig argued, represents evidence of the invented centuries. The mainstream historical response to the phantom time hypothesis has been largely dismissive, but not entirely without engagement. The most significant refutation involves astronomical records from outside Europe. Arab astronomers, Chinese imperial records, and Byzantine chronicles from the supposedly fabricated period all describe astronomical events, eclipses, comet appearances, planetary positions, that can be independently calculated and verified. These records exist and match their calculated dates, making a European-only fabrication of the calendar implausible. The Islamic calendar provides another powerful counterargument. The Islamic calendar begins in 622 AD, squarely within Illig's phantom period, and has been maintained continuously by Islamic scholars ever since. The Islamic calendar counts from the Hijra, the Prophet Muhammad's migration from Mecca to Medina. Islamic dating, maintained independently across the Middle East and Central Asia, places the early caliphates in exactly the period Illig claims was fabricated. To accept the phantom time hypothesis, one would have to explain why the entire Islamic world participates in a European chronological conspiracy. And yet the hypothesis retains a strange grip. Not because it is likely to be true, most serious historians consider it conclusively refuted, but because it raises a deeper question. How confident should we be in the historical record? Our knowledge of the early Middle Ages is genuinely sparse compared to antiquity and the high medieval period. Most of what we think we know about the period between 600 and 900 AD comes from a relatively small number of documents, most of which were copied rather than original, and some of which were forged. Charlemagne, the most famous figure of the phantom period, is attested in dozens of contemporary and near-contemporary sources. His coronation as Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day 800 AD is one of the most documented events of the early medieval period. Arab sources confirm interactions with his court. Byzantine sources confirm diplomatic exchanges. If Charlemagne was invented, the forgery was extraordinarily thorough, requiring the coordinated falsification of records across multiple cultures, languages, and political systems that were often in conflict. The phantom time hypothesis is almost certainly wrong. The evidence against it is substantial and comes from independent sources that could not plausibly have been coordinated. But it is a useful thought experiment. It asks us to consider how we know what we know about history, what the chain of evidence actually looks like, and what its vulnerabilities are. The question of whether we can fully trust the historical record is legitimate, even if the specific answer Illig proposed is not. The past is strange, and the documents through which we access it are stranger still.